when to use logical operators. Logical operators are used to test multiple conditions. You can use 2, 5, 10, and logical operators are used in conjunction with an if statement because if statements have a condition to test. So, what are the logical operators? Well, what are the logical statements that you know from, say, math? So we're going to use those operators over here with two variables a and b. Let's say, what should we test for? Let's test for whether, excuse me, whether both numbers are even, right? If both numbers are even, we will print hello, how are you? How about that? Simple statement. How do we test if a number is even? Modulo 2 equals 0, so a mod 2 equals 0. I want both of them to be odd, even, so what should go in there? And b mod 2 equals 0, so I'm requiring the first condition to be true, the second condition to be true. If they are, oops, let's do this. Both numbers are even. And I'm going to get an input right here. So mind you, you can do a declaration at any place in C++. It doesn't have to be at the beginning. So I'm going to do double C, and I'm going to get the third number. Good. What is the negation of that statement? When we get to the else part, it doesn't imply that you're testing for both numbers being odd. One of them could be even, the other could be odd, and you would end up entering the next block. So both numbers are not even. And going back to logic, I should put P and Q not P or not Q. Good. So one of the De Morgan's laws. Okay, so we have the else part, and lastly, what I'm going to do, to do C equals A star B, what does star do? Multiply, and C out. My final answer is good. Huh?
C is getting it's to be outside. So it's not. I don't remember the name. Carrot? And then like
Caret int?
I don't remember the name of the little integer.
You can do casting. You can convert it to an integer one way. What is another approach? Come again?
Can you have the parentheses and then the data type if you want to before it's in Java?
That's the casting part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The casting, like the
Yeah.
parentheses and the data type.
It's very similar to Java. Another way to do modulus with floating point, I kind of give you a hint, huh? Fmod. Now, Fmod is available in which directive? CMath. Okay, cool. Without getting into too much trouble, I'm just going to convert that to int. So, Carlos, that should address as to why I did what I did. Okay. The next step is declaring double inside. Let me save. So it tells me C is not declared in scope. Is it because of the fact that C is over there inside an if, or is it because of the fact that you always have to initialize or declare a variable at the very beginning? So I'm giving you two options. One second. So two options. One, do we always have to initialize or declare at the beginning? Or is it because that's inside the if? Jake?
It's inside the if, but I think if you call C in the if statement, you'll have an error.
Okay.
Pretty much
Pretty much.
what
So the issue here is the double is inside the if. Could I place it over there in line 22? And will it work? So yes. That's me being me. Not using what can we use to avoid colon. Very good. See, connecting the dots. Oh, there is another one. did I not save? Okay, so things should work now. Okay, before I address the scoping part, let's give two numbers. First number, 23. Second one, 12. Now, both numbers are not even because one of them is odd. Yes. Of course, you gave odd numbers to both. Odd number, 23. Another one, huh? 5. Both of them are odd. So both numbers are not even, and it prints the final answer, which is the product of the two. Even though double is defined inside main, it is not defined in scope because of the if statement. In other words, line number 32 could only work if we enter that if condition. So depending on what input you provide, the code may or may not work, which is why initially it would not let us compile. You can initialize, declare at any place you want. Good practice is to initialize at the top, keeps track of things, but you have to be careful declaring inside an if. It's not going to, or else if for that matter. Now, let's say I wanted to compute my final answer, which is C, and print it, only if the condition passes. So if the condition passes, then I would print the output. So what should I do? So we would simply put 32 and 33 in where? We move it to the if statement. Okay, so now I'm not going to make the move yet. Still I'm using the same code. I want an even number. 4. Another even number. 2. Third number. 5,000. 5,023. Final answer is 8. What just happened?
You're changing the C before it. So you enter the input for the C, and then you're changing the C to equal A to B right before the output C.
Exactly. So I'm simply overwriting the existing value of C. So if I wanted to get the output C and put the final answer as A times B, it has to happen right before that step. In other words, line number 24. Yes? The moment you get an input or perform an operation, it is going to get overwritten. Does that make sense? Now, there is no one way when it comes to logic to implement, but some are more effective than others. So what we want to do is to print whatever you want if one of them is odd. I mentioned using earlier De Morgan's laws. The opposite of what we have in the main condition would mean both of them are odd or one of them is odd. So you can either insert a condition up there which tests for one of them being odd, or you can simply test for both of them being odd. So the compiler is going to check for both conditions being even in line 23. If it fails, it is going to come over here. I'm going to type line 28. One and one. Yes? Or you can type it another way. Instead of saying 0, you could say, instead of saying 1, you could say not equal to 0. Would that work? Absolutely. That would work too. So so you're printing whatever you want.
Line 28 is missing
Missing an equal sign, thank you. So if the first condition fails, it is going to go and check for the second condition, which is in line 28, both of them being odd. If the first one fails and the second one fails, you only have one option. And that option is either A is odd, B is even, or B is odd, A is even. So that's when it's going to go to that part. So Control S, Control Alt N, first number, give me a number, odd number.
23.
Okay, even number. 6.
6, 6.
He gave me 6 first. So 23, 6. Both numbers are not even. Let's try again. Let's have 6 here, 23 there. Still the same. Lastly, we want to check for both of them being odd. We'll keep 23. Another odd number. 25. Whatever you want. Yes? Now, you could use other, logical statements. This is one of the more effective ways. Are we clear? So always try to be effective when you code. We don't want a lot of code.